Hi, my name is Sally Barnard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995, Studio A. And now onto the show.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I hope this is going to be a wonderful show, and please, if you want to call in, you have the number, which I'm going to give out again, 888-994-4995. I'm getting ready to be in a trance, so I did need your help. I have a really special guest today, which is Dawn. I have my husband in the studio, Steve, and I have another Steve here that is not here by accident. So please give me any call in, anything that you want to ask me, I'm here to answer. The show today is a little bit more, I'm going to give the topic, it's about aliens, because I believe that disclosure is very near. It may not be the way that we think it, but I think that we are going to understand a little bit more that we're not alone. So please call in if you feel that you have a question. I'll be happy to answer it. So here we go. Let's start the show. Okay? Any questions, first of all, from the audience, especially Dawn, who is my special guest today?
Well, Sally, we know that you had your first real experiences about 20 years ago, shortly before Aldo introduced himself to you. But can you recall any alien experiences or possible alien experiences earlier in life, maybe through childhood?
Thank you very much for that question, Steve. You are my husband, and we had not discussed this, as you know. I think I had other experiences. I just was not aware of what was going on. But once Aldo came into my life and explained a lot to me about how I actually, although he never used the word abduction, but I did write a whole book, which I'm now redoing the book, Call Me Zena, on how I know that I was abducted. I was not aware of it. Today, many years later, I see exactly what happened to me. It happened to me prior to that. I just didn't know what was happening to me. So I thank you for that question, because it's made me look back into my past on many occasions when I feel that these things were happening to me. I didn't understand it till my guide Aldo came into my life. And then he never used the word abduction. It was after he passed that I found out that this is what it was all about. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
We were talking about Aldo on the midday show. So I want to kind of piggyback onto what Steve was saying. If you had experiences in your childhood, which you didn't tie into what the meaning was when you met Aldo, was he like the missing puzzle piece, or was he able to tie this all together for you?
Absolutely, and I'm seeing in my mind, and that's how I know that he's talking to me. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. The pieces fell into place. We just had a validation. I don't know how many of the viewers are listening to our last show. I totally got me into the zone where I am right now. And I was talking, that Aldo was talking to me. And one of the first things that he does when he lets me know that he's around is for me to have my earring fall off. And you are absolutely aware of what happened to me. After the show, I think I said to you, I believe Aldo was around. What happened? My earring fell off. So I'm so happy that you're my guest on this show today, because there are many things that I would like to talk about that I know that you are aware of too, about abductions. So I'm very happy to answer some of your questions, and some maybe the audience can call in to ask me some questions. I know that you know a little bit about it, Steve, and this is no accident that Steve 2, which is here today, that you have on your phone, you have a picture of a UFO. Nothing is coincidental. So please feel free to ask me any questions.
But I feel like it's important because there are people out there who maybe feel a little different. They're not the same as their family members, and all these pieces from childhood, adulthood are out there as this puzzle. And then one thing that you say may validate all of this and fill in the pieces as they feel like they belong, or they understand there's a higher calling.
Yes, there definitely is. And I think that we are put in contact with people that are of the same mindset as us, as you're very aware of. And we sense that, Dawn. there is such a message out there for me to hopefully be able to get through to not everybody, and I understand that. Some people will say, what is she talking about? For the people that are ready, they will open up and say, you know what, there is more. And I actually am going to be on Russ's show at 4 o'clock that is called Lights in the Night.
Yes.
This is not coincidental. It's not coincidental, if you don't mind, because I know you're a guest on my show here, that you are asking me these questions, because I feel there is definitely a communication between the two of us that we are able to give out into the audience. I think it's very important. I just want to say, you don't have to believe it, but please open your mind if you can to the fact that maybe we are being led in the direction that there is going to be disclosure soon. And I'm happy for definitely you, Dawn, to ask me questions, and for Steve too over there to ask me any questions. This is not coincidental.
You know, I've always
And for you, Steve, too.
I've always believed what you have shared with me, and of course I read your first book, and you talked about the abductions in detail. But as early as 10 days ago, I walked in, I hadn't gone to bed yet, and you were about to be abducted, and you were screaming, and you couldn't get the words out. You did finally say, help me. My question is, with me interrupting what was going on, do you think they took it lightly, or will they be back? Will they come and get me?
I love that question, and I don't know. I know Freddie's sitting
Freddie, what do
over
you
there
think?
that can relate a little bit to this. Okay, I'm going to let you explain a little bit more if you want to that what happened to me. But we had a very similar experience. But you were privy to that, Steve, to what actually happened to me. Yes, I was being abducted. I realized that today. But you heard me scream. For the first time, I'm not scared of anything that happens to me. However, in my abduction, I was going, help me, please help me. And you were able to hear that and came in and you woke me up. But just to let you know, and to the studio audience too, you are in a state of paralyzation. You can't actually express what's happening if you're in the middle of this abduction. You can when you come back. You woke me up, which I'm happy that you did because you were able to experience. I was completely paralyzed. However, when I came back, I remember every aspect of my so-called dream. But I think that was also not only a message for our audience, it was a message for you too. We lived together. You actually experienced part of that because I wasn't able to talk as you woke me up. When you can explain more, I'm going, until I actually came around. I was in the middle of an abduction.
And you, as the abductee, do you have any sense of who these aliens are, where they're from, what type of aliens they are?
No, I don't believe that that's important, as we can go into that a little bit more. We have, which I'm happy for you to ask me, Dawn, because I know you're a little aware, we have a bloodline. And my bloodline is with, as far as I know, with what we would call aliens. I understand a lot. And as I said on your last show, but not everybody was listening, that we are of a certain bloodline. So I'm able to understand that. But I also believe that even on my show here in the Brooklyn Cafe, that we attract people from that bloodline. So anybody that wants to open up in the studio audience or out there, please ask me more questions.
Sally, I have a question.
Yes.
Did you learn anything in that experience?
Did I learn anything? Yes, but I honestly believe, Freddie, because I won't go into, it's up to you to disclose maybe what happened. But I think that I don't have to prove anything, but I think I need to validate certain things. So I know that you're aware of what happened to me without going into detail of what you know what I'm talking about. But
Well, the same thing happened to me.
Okay, so I
And when
would
I-
like to bring that up if I may.
And when I was laying there, you can see everything going on around you. The room was there.
Right.
The lights outside were there. And even Linda was there, like Steve.
And Steve
Linda
was here,
there.
yes.
The funny thing is that I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. I was screaming for help. And I could hear myself screaming for help,
Yeah.
but what was coming out was like a baby's cry, like that. And and Russell was here a week ago. He was explaining to me about these different versions of everything. At the end of this thing, when I woke up, I didn't tell anybody what happened to me. And I sat there, and I got a vision of 3 light lanterns that I was told to go get. And today the candles came in for them. And I was told to bring those for 3 souls that I've lost, which I'm thinking is my mother, my dad, and my brother. It might be somebody else, I don't know. And I put them at my door. So tonight I'm going to light them up and see what happens. But I learned something from that thing. And they tell me that that could have occurred for the longest hours. It seemed like seconds, it seemed like minutes, but it could be hours that you're in that.
Because there's no time on the other side, Freddie. And the fact that just to let our viewers know that a very similar experience happened to you as happened to me within 24 hours. And Steve is here to validate that, because people might say, what are they talking about? But I was abducted. He woke me up in the middle of the abduction because he heard me screaming out, as you did too. And I couldn't speak because we're paralyzed. But this is a very, very important message to the viewers. We may not even understand that, but to be able to validate that you and I, within 24 hours, had a very, very similar experience. That's not coincidence. That was meant to happen. I actually I'm able to talk on the airways as you do too, so that passes it on to many, many people. We're not the only ones that have this experience. Not that many, but people do have that experience. It's very important to put that out. I obviously wanted your permission first to say that, which you readily gave me. We both had the very similar experience. So, and you're here to validate that, Steve, that I was completely paralyzed, as you were too. So how can this not be real, okay? So it's interesting to carry on the story from here on in. So please, Dawn, any questions?
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about abduction, your physical body was not going to leave your bedroom.
Right. No, it isn't.
So, right. So anyone who's going through this, or anyone who's living with someone, their body stays. What's going?
Well, we're out, as they say, out of our body. There is an astral, I call it astral projection, where you actually do leave your body. And we all do this. We just don't know. There is an astral plane. So this is very interesting. And the fact that you were able to see that, because I'm not in my body. As you saw, I couldn't speak when you woke me up, just the same as Freddie, because we've left our body. But I do come back into my body, and that brings us back to the last show. Not everybody was watching our last show. Right. That I'm able to project myself, and I'm able to come back, which we do. But I'm here to spread the word that it happens.
Now they say we all leave our bodies about 3 o'clock in the morning.
In my book, and I didn't know that, absolutely 100%, because in my first book, which we're revising, it's going to be out in a couple of weeks, Call Me Zena. It's going to be easy to get because it is going to be online. I actually say everything happened to me, and I don't even know if you're aware of that. 3 o'clock in the morning. That was validation.
Our souls all leave our bodies at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the gift, as you always say, Freddie, is truly our souls coming back to our body and waking up the next day.
The veil is thinner, and I did not know that, but I actually had to document at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I absolutely will look at the time. I'd go back to sleep. When I woke up, it may have only, and I've documented all this, 20, 15 minutes later, because there is no time on the other side. But having said that, I understand now that the veil between the two of us, of that dimension and our dimension, it's very thin at that particular time.
But what do you think the meaning is? What's the message?
That anything is possible, to believe that this does happen. We're not already, as they call it, waking up. I guess that's a good explanation of what actually happens to us. But not everybody is ready in this particular lifetime. But to go into that a little bit more, everything is happening all at the same time. The more you become aware and the more validation that you get, you begin to understand that more. So and I've always said this and will continue, anything is possible, but we do get messages. We don't always interpret our messages, but I've been able to, since Aldo passed now a few years ago, he was explaining to me to pass this on. my message for our viewers today is anything is possible. And we are receiving that firsthand in your studio here. This isn't coincidence. I believe that I'm meant to be here, as you and Freddie are here too, to pass this on to people, to keep an open mind.
There was an additional part to the incident 10 days ago. You felt a strong sense of your pillow being tugged at.
Yes.
And we came up with two explanations. One is that your abductors were pulling at the pillow. The other one, which I think is more interesting and probably more viable, is that Aldo was trying to protect you and was trying to bring you back.
I'm inclined to believe the latter of that. I do believe that my guide, and anybody that's been listening to my show is familiar with Aldo today, that he was there to protect me, to let me know that everything would be all right. That is the very first time, actually, in all the abductions that I've had, that I was scared. I was scared, and that's why I was screaming out for help, which you heard me say that and came in, and I was still there, so you firsthand saw what happened to me. But I believe that he was trying to tug at my pillow, although my pillow had not moved, but I felt the sensation of my pillow moving, that he was there to help me.
And just further validation that Aldo is with you, and I was probably handpicked to take you the rest of your journey or protect you because he passed away on my birthday.
Absolutely.
2021.
Yes, and I was discussing that because I believe that anybody in my life today, and we all have the ability, but not everybody knows that they have the ability to do this. So I believe that people that come into my life, and we got married, so there has to be a reason for this. I cannot stop my journey, and you are seeing so much validation today that there's no way that you can deny this, correct?
Not at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I always saw validation, but this experience 10 days ago,
Was
just
proof.
was over the top. for me.
Absolutely. And, oh, Freddie disappeared. But also Freddie having had a very similar situation the next day. So that was, how can we deny this?
Right, so Aldo passed. Steve comes back into your life, right? Almost as like the next step in the next journey of your life. So, Steve, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel like I had a big purpose in this whole scenario.
Right.
Besides the fact that I get to be with Sally.
There's right. So there's a reason, because your bloodline is who you are, but yet they keep sending people to you to help you continue to share your message and to stay healthy and to do all the things that you need. They need to do for you to continue to perpetuate this.
Absolutely, Dawn. And I know we share something here as far as the bloodline goes. I knew you and you knew me, and we can validate that when I first came into the studio. The fact that the first thing you said to me is when I showed you the art, because I was able to paint now, you had seen my art. So I always seem to have the validation that I need for myself too. I'm human. So it's hard to do this without the validation, but I have somebody always to be able to validate what
Yeah, I had
happened
a dream
to
about
me.
some of your art, which made no sense because it wasn't even detailed like Nigel. It was one of your, a random painting, right?
Right.
And it came in and it made perfect sense, just like the stars and my wand and
Exactly.
all these things.
Exactly.
Now, what the greater meaning is, we don't know.
Well, I
It's still
believe it's to
decipher.
pass the message on. I really do, because I could say anything, but without my validation for myself and for the people that are giving me the story, it just adds that extra, okay, this is real, because it's not only me that's experiencing these things. You've seen it, Freddie's seen it, you, Steve, and even you, Steve too, I'm going to introduce, happens to
we
be
have a
in
question
the
over
studio.
here, Sally.
Right.
You have a hand up.
I got a question.
Okay.
Sally, is it validating something that people should know, or is it accepting something that you can't see and you have to sort of believe it because you believe it?
Okay, my message is always believe anything is possible, Freddie. And without my validation, I can only prove this by example of what I show people today. But it's also good for me, because I could also be thinking, well, did this really happen? But they show me in such a way that I always seem to have somebody else there to be able to validate what's happening to me. So my message is, anything is possible for anybody that's listening to my show today, and I have a nice following today. Just know that you're not watching this show. It's not coincidental. There's a reason that you've tuned into my show, and I'm getting more and more viewers every week, and I'm very happy. And I'm the first person to say it's not about ego. It's for me to spread this message, and you guys all know that about me. So please continue, because I am getting validation, but I'm also getting validation for other people, and that's what makes this very special for me, to be able to prove by example that this is what's happening.
Linda says hello to you and Steve.
Hi, Linda. Nice to hear from you. Okay, and I know that Steve too, I'm going to introduce you. This is not coincidental that Steve too is here with me today. And you happen to have on your phone.
Actually, I was sitting by my pool and I was looking up, and there was something just, in the sky. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't moving. It was just standing there. So I took a picture of it. I even, took a closer, I blew it up. So I blew it up to, get a closer look at it. And it looks like an airplane without wings. But what I did see was there was like a barrier or a halo around this object, and I had no idea what this was. Yesterday I was actually watching a show, and they were talking about somebody took a picture of an object, and there was like a halo around the object. I'm like, wait a minute, I have that on my phone that I took months ago, and I looked at it again, and I shared it with Freddie a little while ago, and I would love to meet aliens. I don't know if they're impersonating humans and they're already here, or they haven't made their presence known yet, but I would love to. You've been abducted a couple of times. I would love to have an experience like that.
Actually, for 3 times a week for nearly a year, they really got me, okay?
Wow, okay. Once or twice I would like to experience it. But yeah, I'd love to have that, just to say hi, just to, try to communicate.
Do they have a picture? You gave it to them.
I gave it to Freddie.
Yeah, I'd love for that to come up on the screen, Steve.
Of course
It
not.
didn't go through.
Okay, but just to let you know that we all did see this picture of a spaceship. And the fact that you are sitting, it's really the first time we've ever had a conversation.
It's the first
correct,
time in
Steve?
my existence I've ever seen anything so clear. It's unbelievable.
But I want to tell you, that's the second picture I took. The first picture was on a different phone. And I was actually landing in West Palm Beach. And, I was sitting at the window. I was looking out. I love looking at the ocean and the land. And what I did do, and I never do, is look up. And when I looked up, I saw 2 lines right side by side one another. So I took my phone to try to get a closer look at it. It was so high up, I couldn't get a clear, I got a picture of it. But I said, no, those are probably planes. I dismissed them as planes. Then I thought about it. Planes don't fly so close together.
Right.
So that they cannot be planes. But, what's leaving a trail behind that's they're too close together to be airplanes and way too high up to be planes? Our satellites don't have exhaust trails or...
So let me ask you a question now. Can you see how relevant it was that you were sitting in the studio today when we have never... we met once before, but we did not have a conversation.
We did not.
In fact, your name is Steve, so I'm bad with names. Here's the other Steve sitting here.
Absolutely.
The fact that you're on my show to validate what we're talking about, is that coincidence? I don't think so, right?
I
So
believe.
thank you for
There are
that.
many people
Thank
that
you, Steve.
will say something, and people will go throughout life not saying a word.
And I appreciate that, because a lot of what I talk, and I say anything is possible, but I always like to bring it back to other people having a similar or something similar happening to
Experiences,
them.
right.
So it to me it's believable, but I understand how it's not believable. However, let's just turn this around a little bit.
Why
so
don't we
you
take a
don't...
commercial break?
Oh, okay.
And when we
After,
come back,
we'll
we
do
can
it.
talk about
The bloodlines.
bloodlines.
Okay,
Wow.
I'm excited about that. Okay.
More to come on the other
See
side
you
of
on
this
the other
break.
side. Don't go anywhere. Thank you.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Barnard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came to the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest in art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she's able to astral project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life's direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today.
My story starts at 4 or 5 years old. My name is Sally Barnard, and I was born at the end of the Second World War, in the middle of an air raid siren going off. My parents were in a movie theater, and my mother went into labor. My father ran out of the movie theater, but there was no cabs to be available because everybody is running for cover. However, they found one, and the taxi driver was given the address to take my father and my mother to the hospital. As my mother was in labor, about a half an hour, I arrived at exactly midnight. I think I was fed messages at a very early age. My parents used to like to play cards, and they had a card game every Wednesday or Thursday night at home when I was a baby. And I actually said to them one day, "Why do you keep waking me up at night? The card game is waking me up, and I can't get back to sleep so quickly." And they looked at each other and they said, "We're not really waking her up." They were quite away from my bedroom. And they called in a psychic to say, "What in the world is going on?" And the psychic said that I'm getting many messages that are waking me up at night. I thought whatever I was experiencing, other people were experiencing too. You don't know until you realize that you are different. Many things were happening to me, things that were unexplainable to me. What I had dreamt was happening. I could sense many things, and the things that I was sensing were coming about, but something was going on. I will explain to you everything. You're ready.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Barnard, and you can find my book and artwork by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Now back to the show.
Hi, we're back. Okay, I think we have a call-in visitor.
We're having some internet buffering issues, which makes me think that the energy's beyond what we are. Maybe you're not so happy that we're having these conversations.
But you know
or
what?
they're just letting us know that they're listening. I don't know.
I think they're letting us know we're listening. The fact that my earring fell off too, okay? And we are protected. But do we have...
I think he's got to call back in because we
Okay.
lost him as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there's some technical things going on.
I just couldn't find the show.
It's because we're having some internet flare-ups. It's there and then it's buffering, so we'll repost it as well. So
Okay.
it's still recording.
So hang in there, our viewers, and a lot is on the recording, so that's okay. Not too many people at this time of the day actually listen to the show, but I do see the sharing and the
Yeah.
recordings afterwards, so that's fine.
So we'll
So
repost it.
I know that we do have a call-in person, but
We lost him too. So
Okay.
we're gonna,
Just
apparently-
call back in, Tom.
Apparently that's not the conversation to be had at the
no,
moment.
it's not. Okay.
But you wanted to talk about bloodlines.
Yes, I do.
I find it fascinating. You found us in the back talking. There's so many similarities between our stories, and I've never shared it. But to know that there's this connection of bloodline of souls, that you were brought here at the time you were brought here, that you have had this walking guide, and now I believe Steve is your next take you through the next part of this next stage in life. I don't think everybody has I call them walking guides, a walking guide. Everyone has a guardian angel.
Right.
But to truly have someone with you by your side saying, I see this, Sally, to find you in the hospital, to check your body, to do all these things. Do you think that's of the royalty bloodline, an extraterrestrial bloodline?
I'm going to use the word extraterrestrial because I don't often talk about this, but I'm happy to bring it forward because I think it's important. I believe anybody can do what I'm doing. I think we all have access to, let's call the other side. But there is a certain group of people, and I don't mention it this much, but we do have a communication here between the two of us, Dawn, that we go a little beyond that to maybe understand, because there are people, for want of a better way of explaining, that have had many more lifetimes here on Earth. So our history goes back way beyond what we're actually taught in school. And actually here, Steve, the other Steve too, was very aware of that. But there's only a certain group, as far as I know. I mean, I have no way to actually prove this, but from what I understand, there is a certain group of people that can go way beyond what we are taught in school, that go back to many generations before that. Let's say the story of the pyramids, how were they built, and how were we existing here before our time, so to speak. So in answer to the question, we go a little bit deeper in a certain bloodline that has chosen to keep coming back here. I believe, and if they're listening, that's fine, to spread this story a little bit more. Because I realize I'm not the only person. Aldo explained it to me, and I seem to be meeting people from that bloodline. So for me, that's validation of what I believe. Because how do you know the story, and we've just met, how do you know the story? It feels that there's a communication between us to share a little bit of that.
But you're also a medium.
I am a medium, yes.
And we were talking earlier today, you don't essentially necessarily see the spirit or the energy, but you feel them.
I feel it, and on certain occasions, if I am giving a message, which you've been privy to my messages, I will see an outline of the person. Mainly they show me their hair and their face, not so much of what they're wearing, but I feel it. Every aspect of me feels it. I get goosebumps, which you're aware of too. So I feel that anything that we may be talking about right now is what we're meant to be talking about, because they are telling me that. It's fine, it's okay. We just certain line that we're not meant to cross over. It doesn't mean that we don't understand it, but maybe we're not meant to air everything that we hear on the air. But we can still talk about it. And as you too, Stephen, you were validation of that too. When we talk back into time before time, that's what they're telling me to say. Before we knew of the existence of Earth, there were people here, which I'd love to talk about, actually.
Caller.
Oh, hi. Hello, is this Pete? Pete.
Hey there, Sally.
Hi,
My
Pete. And I know
favorite
you're
girl
aware
of
of
all
what we're
time. How
talking
are
about.
you?
Okay, your question, Pete.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, 2 months ago, I'm having a UFO talk with a guy at 10 a.m. 6 hours later, I'm looking at the UFO over Highway 95 here in Fort Lauderdale. What do you think it meant?
Can you interpret? I can't quite hear you. Did you get that, Dawn?
Freddie, you hear what he said?
He said that he saw a UFO. Repeat that you saw a UFO.
Shortly after he was having a conversation about UFOs.
Okay. All right.
Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, yeah, I believe that they are beginning to show themselves more to us. I love this show today because I think it's an important show. You came in and showing a picture of a UFO appearing. So yes, Pete, I think that you are privy to this because you understand it, so you're going to see it. It's like we actually raise our vibrational energy. Not everybody, doesn't mean that they won't be doing this later on, but right now the people that are aware of this and have raised their vibrational energy will see these things. It's quite normal, in fact, actually, for people to understand, for people to see this, as you had taken a picture.
Right.
Picture speaks 1,000 words, right? Thank you, Pete, for that question.
Yeah.
Yes, you did see it.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe you can answer this question too. I felt that was a bit of time travel because I had a talk at 10 a.m. in the morning about UFOs and then I saw one 6 hours later. Do you think that was a form of time travel?
Yes, absolutely, because you had validated here on the vibrational energy that you were with. You raised your vibration. They knew that you could do this, which I know you're aware of, so they showed it to you. It was validation for you. And actually even bringing it up on the show is validation for our viewers too. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Pete.
Thank you. Adios, amigos.
Adios, my friend.
Don, you had suggested that that after Aldo transitioned that I was brought here to be the next guide. I don't think so, but I think I was brought here to be...
I don't know a guide, but you're brought here to
protect.
to watch out after Sally.
Yes.
You know, to
that's
make
the
sure
point
she
I
has
wanted to make.
companionship and all the things. She's not living by herself, that she's safe.
To center me. That's what they're saying. You were here to center me. But that doesn't mean that you're not meant to be hearing this. I truly believe that you are because you've been access to a lot of the validation.
Oh, yes.
But that's still, and I'll say this on the air, it's entirely up to you, Steve. I'm here as a teacher, the best I can to spread my word. And if you're around me, there has to be a reason, but I can't push anybody into believing this. However, you've had a lot of validation, and that's what's very important. In the studio here, I know that we are on a very similar vibrational energy, so I can share my stories, and I know that you have something that you'll be able to share with me. With you, Steve, it's a process, and there has to be a reason why we got married in a very short space of time. Unfortunately, you got sick very shortly after that, but now just to share with our viewers, you're definitely on the way to recovery. That there is a meaning for every single thing that happens. But the most important thing, if I need to tell our viewers this, is to be aware of that. Because without that awareness, it doesn't mean anything. But we're all given, all of us, I'm no different, are given messages, but be aware of that. And it's up to us to follow it. I am here on this earth for the remainder of my life to follow my messages. Nothing will distract me from that because I have a message. But it's up to whoever wants to hear it to hear it. They will hear it, but we hear it different ways depending where we are. The message that I give will relate very much to someone, and someone else will say, kind of related. And someone that doesn't want to know will say, bye-bye, Sally, I don't want to hear it. Does that make sense?
You have to be ready and
you
open
have
to
to be
it.
ready, yes.
Yes,
And for anyone...
I was ready, and we had many conversations before I got sick, and after I got sick, it's like my mind wouldn't let me go there, and you suggested that was the time my mind should have really opened up to what you had to offer, but I didn't have it in me, you know.
I'm not to make light of that. I understand that. But you know, sometimes when we're at our lowest is when we hear these messages. I'm not necessarily referring to you, but other people, anybody there now that may be going through a very difficult period in their life, when they're at their lowest, they have nowhere to turn. It's like someone that's in recovery from an addiction. They cry out for, please help me. I don't know where I'm going. They're more ready to listen to this message. This message is for everybody, but not everyone is going to hear it in the same way. So you were ready, but part of you, we get messed with, okay? Absolutely, I understand that. So they're saying, don't listen to this nonsense. I'm not just referring to you, but there are many people out there. I was one of them before Alda came into my life. However, I was ready to receive it. When I was going through something, it made such perfect sense to me to believe that there is, and they say this, a power greater than ourselves. And that's when we're able to hear these messages that what we're talking about, what other people have experienced, they can go back and say, you know what, I think I heard that a little while ago. It didn't make sense. When they're going through something, what they heard now makes sense. So I can only say I am being led, as you saw before on your show. This comes over me. I don't know quite how this happens, but I'll go on to what we're talking about now. In your show, which was not my show, I had to give that message. So I am able to now give a platform to people that are listening, and we're gaining viewers. My message is, it's not about ego, it's to help people understand that there is something else going on. And if it's the aliens that we're talking about right now that helps us give that message, and there are, there's different aliens too, just as there is with us. There are ones that want to mess with us, there are funny ones, and there are ones that tell us that this is really real. Okay, we just heard a little noise. I believe that was someone letting me know that that was validation.
It's one of the reptilians.
Absolutely, thank you. How are we on the same show at the same time? I didn't know you, but we're able to talk about this. And Steve, you have been a witness, especially here in the Brooklyn Cafe, the people that I have met. There's only a small part of this population that understands this. However, you guys are bringing in the people. And I feel that I have something to do with that too.
I don't think it's us bringing in the people. I think
Yeah.
the energy of what what it is brings in the people.
We've created that.
Like before the midday show, you told me there's a woman with blonde hair in her mid-70s.
Yes.
She's still hanging around.
Yes, can you see her?
Yes.
Yes.
So what's her message? Because she's right with you.
She's telling me that you are absolutely in the right place right now to talk about this, Dawn. I'm going to say that maybe there are viewers that might say, I don't want any part of this. However, there's a great number of viewers that are so interested. And the fact that you can share some of this on the air too, it doesn't have to be all the time. You have other people on your show, but it's really, really important. As you know that, you know me pretty well now, that this message is important. I mean, I don't want to take over your shows because they're your shows, but I kind of lost it on your last show to explain all this. It's important, and it's important. And we have that validation. We have the same bloodline. So if you want to just ask me a few little questions where maybe audience can relate or
So I think this woman, it's always this one from one of your paintings. She's blonde with the bun, and I know that's from your Renaissance
Yes, it is.
painting.
And if you don't mind me sharing this with our viewers, that we were together, which and we've had validation of that particular lifetime, right? So I think it's important that we are just ordinary people here on this earth, but we have a little bit more to expand, a little bit more of what may be going on, so to speak, behind the scenes, they're telling me to tell you that. So I don't know, I think that lady was Elizabeth. We've mentioned that. Okay, I'm getting, of course. Her name is Elizabeth, and she's right here behind you right now. I see her very clearly. Her hair is tied back in a bun. She's a pretty lady, and she's been with you for eons, as she's telling me, eons. Does that ring any sort of bell with you, or any feeling of...
Well, she's always with me, as you say. She's always my guide.
Absolutely.
And her message is?
That, exactly what I'm saying, anything is possible. And we go back. We go, if you don't mind me expressing this on the air, we go back into generations, especially the Renaissance, which we are aware of, to just let you know, we're perfectly normal people. Well, I say normal, you are, Dawn, I'm not too sure about me.
Relative term.
Okay.
No pun intended, right?
But we're here to experience and bring in a little bit more into this vibrational energy for people to open up, to lift their vibrational energies just that little bit higher, so that they're also able to do what I'm experiencing and able to put out onto the airways. It's important.
And when you finally acknowledge those that are in the room, they smile and then they go about their, otherwise they just stand and they wait for you to acknowledge that they're here.
But we have to also meet them halfway. As Aldo used to say to me many times, they come from a higher dimension. So they have to meet us, but we have to lift our vibrational energy too. Not everybody wants to do that, and I totally understand that. But when you open up, and I can share my experiences, it brings us into a higher vibrational energy. They can meet us. They can come down a little. They don't want to go right down because they're going to be right back here. But they want to meet us halfway. And I always love to add humor, as you know, into my shows. So try and figure it out, okay? We're here to answer the questions. Okay.
But a lot of questions. And I know Russ is here also.
Hi, Russ.
Russ, you have a question or a conversation? Nope.
Dawn's doing pretty good,
You're
as Steve is, and also Steve here. And Freddie is a little bit doing okay here, but we want a little more questions from you, if possible. Anything you want to ask me?
What does the future hold, Sally? We keep talking about things that we've seen. We keep talking about all the signs that we have acknowledged, all the coincidences that are coincidences. What does it all mean for the future?
It means that we're more moving forward in this vibrational energy. We're in a lower vibrational energy here. So the more that we can lift up our vibration, they call it the 3D, let's say go to the 5D for want of explaining it a little bit better. If we lift our vibrational energy just up by shows that I do, by what you do, Russ, and anybody who's talking even on the show here, that they see that there is more out there. We're lifting our vibrational energy up to reach the ones that want to talk to us. And from there on in, and I truly am beginning to understand that today, the higher, which we call positive thinking, because if we're not thinking positive, we're lowering it, and we're going into all these things happening to us. But if we can just see a little bit more, we will see a little bit more, because once we raise that vibrational energy, and I see you nodding your head, and I know that you understand this, we will meet the people from that vibration and higher up. And all good things happen. That's why it's so important. And I say on my show many times, please be positive, not negative. And if you are negative, try to change that around, because the negativity lowers that, the positivity raises that. So that's really important to understand that.
We had a good discussion a little while ago about how people how they're born and how they're raised and how they're influenced, and a lot of people, it's programmed in their head. They cannot think as an individual, that they have to believe, what their parents said, what their grandparents said, what their religious leader says, what their peers say.
Right.
Now, that, in my mind, and we spoke about, that is the beginning of, what the government says. When anybody says they're following a certain pattern, and a lot of times it's a negative pattern, and it's a lot of negative energy. This person is wearing that, he must be evil. This person is believing that, they must be evil. It's instead of getting to know people and looking at things as an objectively, and say, listen, let me re-educate myself. Where did all this come from?
Okay, not to interrupt, because we had a limited time, but that's a great, great question, because we're programmed, Steve.
Right.
We're programmed into believing. And who are our peers? Our parents, or people that have been here before us. So we follow that. So it's up to us, and I truly believe this, to break that pattern.
Yes.
Our program is and I truly believe this, the government, schools, everything that we have access to, where we're being trained, military, and God bless the military, I love them for what they're doing. Right. However, we are programmed. So if we begin to understand that, and it's just me, but one step in mankind is a leap step, okay, so I try to do that, and I'm understanding that. Aldo used to say to me, and it's very relevant today, divide and conquer, because as much as you now divide people, you will conquer them. That really is the only explanation that I'm able to give right now, but to be aware of that. We are being programmed, and I don't want to upset viewers. Do I have proof? Only from what I hear, but I believe that's a very, very important message. So thank you for that question. It was important.
This negativity is instilled in us as babies. One of the first words we learn as a baby is the word no. And it sticks with many, many people.
Absolutely.
And that's why there are so many more negative people in the world today. They can never get past that word no.
And I love the fact, I used to say from the moment, I don't know if they still do this, I think they do, to make us breathe, what do when we're first born? They slap us, okay? Is that positive or negative? Okay, there has to be a nicer kind of way of waking us up into this world. So I used to say that. Why do they slap us? Why can't they give us a lot of hugs and kisses for us to breathe, or even breathe into our mouth? No, I don't know if they still do that. My kids. were born many years ago, but they still did it then. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. I think we've got about 3 minutes.
Okay, Dawn, if you want to maybe ask me something and we'll finish it that way, or?
Another question? Freddie, you have another question to wrap up?
Why don't we talk a little bit about what's coming up for Sally in the future?
Okay, so I'm going to say that I am very, very positive right now. So please follow me as much as you can, because I want to spread my word. I want to spread my message. I have 2 books. I have my revised edition of Call Me Zena coming out in a couple of weeks. I also have another book that's coming out, Call Me Zena, that's going to have a different story but a continuation. And I have hopefully a movie. We are going to submit the script in about a month or 2 from now.
Wonderful.
So please, this is my message. It's not, again, I'm going to say about ego, it's to give my message. It's important, and what better way to do it than over the airways? And I'm not going anywhere. I'm still at your cafe, okay? And I will
she's
be
still
here
right
as long
here.
as you want me, and I want to be here.
And Sally's
which
available for speaking engagements. She is going to be starting in August. You've got a gig coming
Yes,
up,
I do.
and then I believe the first of the year you've got a couple.
Yes, I do.
So if you're looking for a speaker to share on this topic outside of our studio, you can contact Sally. You can always contact her here, and we will get her the message as well.
Thank you very much. And I'm not going to say goodbye. I'll see you all again next week. We're gaining a lot of viewers, and I'm very happy about that. So please continue watching. Thank you. Thank you.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Barnard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybarnard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day. You have been